Modifying fast cars like this BMW M2 Competition can be risky business. Many spend thousands only to produce a car that's actually worse to drive, but this upgraded M2 Comp isn't like the others. Spoiler alert, I think this is the ultimate BMW M2, and proof that you should only use specialist suppliers like Clubsport Garage to help you make your fast car better, not worse. And here's Jack, founder of Clubsport Garage, to explain to you why.
In short, we're a boutique part specialist for BMW and Porsche, kind of striking that balance with club sport, so the type of cars that you can still drive on the road with somewhat comfort, I suppose, but still maintaining as much track performance as possible. So yeah, it's just striking that balance, and that's the whole reason of why we've put together what we call our demo car or our showpiece, just to kind of put on all the items that we would recommend our customers doing the same. It also allows us to obviously test them at the same time.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going to have a lot of fun testing these, aren't you? And you're going to turn a lot of heads, because I can't help but notice, while I can see mods everywhere, the one that stands out is a set of gold alloy wheels. Talk us through these.
They are Titan 7s, so it's an American company we're working closely with. They're their TM20s. Again, quite bold with the gold colour. I'm quite a subtle person, to be honest, as you'll see from the rest of the car being relatively subtle. Needed something to sort of pop a little bit, and I think they've done a great job of doing that. And
then you have turned it up to another level of madness, because we've got a whacking great amount of negative camber on there. I mean, that's negative what?
3.8 on the front.
That's like race car stuff. 3.8 on here, and is it? There's a little bit on the back I can see as well.
Yeah, that's it. So about a degree less, so minus 2.8 on the back.
That, if you don't know about negative camber, firstly, get to know, because it's the best thing ever. But secondly, 3.8 on the road is very extreme. Most like sports cars come with a couple, don't they?
Yeah, this is fresh off a track day. It's been cleaned obviously since, but yeah, so that is quite aggressive for a road use, I would say.
But it still drives well.
It still, surprisingly, as you'll find out, that actually does ride relatively well actually, but it's all trying to find that balance, of course, at the same time.
Looks mega though. And actually, I should ask about the brakes. The brakes don't look like you've changed them. So is it just a disc change, or is it? Yeah, I can see an M badge.
That's it. It's quite subtle again. It's a bit of an OEM plus upgrade. So we've retained the standard calipers that come on these cars. These are 4 pots on the front, 2 on the rear, but we've upgraded to gyro discs, just a replacement 2-piece disc. You can just handle the heat a little bit better, plus pads, lines, fluids, and the usual stuff.
Yeah, and a bit of cooling and stuff, right?
Sorry, yeah, that's right. Cooling as well. Quite a heavy car, coming in at around about 1,600 kilos. So trying to stop all of that weight is, yeah, you need everything you can with the brakes.
Yeah. No less important in a fast car is the suspension. So Clubsport's chosen race spec Nitron coilovers, which are adjustable and look lovely.
For this, I've tried to kind of take an approach of less is more. There's a few other changes as well. We've got some front control arm bushes. They just help with a little bit more stability under braking. They'll also just get a little bit nicer to feel in on the turn-in. On the rear, we've then got some inner and outer control arm bushes, one of which just removes some rubber just to keep it a little bit more rigid, and the other one's eccentric, just to add a little bit more camber and just to offset the difference. You've got roll center. We won't get too technical, but the fact that we've lowered it, that's obviously offsetting and accounting for that with the eccentric bush. And then finally some toe arms, just so we can again tweak that geometry, get the toe, get the camber that we want.
Ooh, this looks good. I have to admit, I'm a bit of an interior enthusiast, because it's the place you spend all the time, right? The gold wheels look great, but this is what you look at when you're driving.
That's it. Probably my favourite part of the car, I'll be honest. There's been a lot of changes in here. Again, so many of them are hidden away, but most of them are on show. Some really nice hardware on the seats, for example.
Actually, these seats they're the best seats. I mentioned them earlier. Pole positions, right?
I'm a little bit of a sucker for Recaro, to be honest. Yeah, it's the only ones we list and the only ones we sell, but they just work. So these particular seats, for example, this is the pole position ABE. Same seats actually that come in an AMG GTR and an M4 GTS, so same design.
And it's wider as well, isn't it? This is the more friendly road spec seat.
That's it. Yeah, because they offer the pole position FIA, which is a kind of, yeah, a bit more narrow on the bottom, but this just ever so slightly only comes out around your hips, just to make it easier getting in and out and being able to retain a standard seatbelt at the same time.
Bit of buyer advice there, go for the wider one, unless you're only doing like racing. Talking of racing, that steering wheel obviously isn't standard, and it looks like it's been pulled out of some like 600 horsepower Le Mans car. What is this all about?
So I've got to be honest, this is probably my favourite piece of the car. We haven't really done too much on our socials about this yet. So this is a KMP steering wheel. They're a company based in the Netherlands, make an amazing product. Been around for a long time, but they've not long released this Clubsport wheel, so only seems fitting to put it in here.
Oh god, there's actual carbon fibre shift paddles. Wow, okay, that is, I need a moment for that. That's pretty special. That's like race spec stuff. Is that a feature that comes with this wheel? Is it, you mentioned Clubsport as a pack, so
by pure coincidence, this feels like the perfect wheel for you as a brand.
Yeah.
Does it come with those racy paddles as well?
100%, yeah. So that is standard. I think the whole idea following that Clubsport ethos was just to retain all the standard features. So we haven't lost any functionality at all. So we've even still got cruise control. Again, customers that are going out to the Nürburgring, if you've got those anywhere between 4-6+ hour drives, we've still got cruise control. We've still got your volume and your voice activation.
That's so cool. I've never seen a voice activation on like a track day steering
on a race wheel. So all the functions are still there. The magnetic paddles, they come as standard. They yeah, very satisfying. Again, a bit gimmicky, but you just get a real satisfying gear change from that.
They're proper though. You say gimmicky, they are actually what are featured in proper race cars.
Yeah.
So it is a genuine, authentic feeling. And also, I think they're more effective for when you're on track. You want that real hard engagement when you're out there shifting down.
Sometimes, I mean, you've got your helmet on, there's a lot of noise going on. You don't quite know that you've changed gear, but you can't really mistake it with the magnetic. You get a real good feedback from that.
Jack's not wrong, because this sort of gear shift feel is exactly what kept me in tune with the radical race car we broke the Rockingham lap record with last year. But Clubsport's M2 wheel doesn't just completely focus on functionality, with a bespoke BMW M inspired colour scheme that makes it as beautiful to behold as it is technically brilliant. And on that note, check out this roll cage.
Can see it already through the tinted window. That is a serious bit of kit, isn't it? It's unpainted for starters. I've not seen that before. Is that because it's not finished, or is it because it's some kind of new tech?
Yeah, again, so it's a kind of a part of it being a demo. I feel like it felt wrong to kind of hide away all those lovely welds. So these are made by Pinnacle Motorsport. A really good friend of mine does an amazing job. But yeah, just figured we'd leave it unfinished. This is the second time we've used this car for the development cage. This is the new 2-piece version. Just simply makes it easier to fit, basically. Otherwise, you have to take the center console out.
Nice to know you can just put this straight in. I can see you've only got a tiny amount of sort of bits of carpet removal. It's like, that's smaller than, you know, was it like a £2 coin or something? So there's not a lot of space.
Tiny, yeah, and that's something to highlight with these as well. Very, very minimal amount of modification needed to fit these. It's literally, I think, 2 holes on the front that are hidden away under the carpet anyway, and all therefore is just to gain access to some existing holes to get the nut behind. And then on the rear, it also mounts into original points. Literally just bolts in with 4 bolts per side, and then just simply cutting away the carpet. Only downside is obviously cutting the carpet, but as you can see, it's not much, and hopefully something that's going to be pretty cheap to replace if ever you want to put the car back to standard anyway.
Now you might be thinking an M2 build as awesome as this would cost you way more than a new standard car. But don't forget, M2s go for under £30,000 these days. And if you download the Cinch app, you can bag one like this beauty in just a few clicks. Add 25 grand's worth of Clubsport Garage M2 upgrades to the base, and you'd soon have yourself a beast of an M2. And for 10 grand less than a new one. So the question is, should you do it?
This is a monster Clubsport. Wow. Jumping behind the wheel of an M2, you know, you're always going to know this is a serious machine, but everything about this car, all the sensations I get are all race car. But I don't have a broken back. My ears haven't exploded. I haven't had a heart attack, and I'm not dripping with sweat. It gives you all the excitement of a race car, but all the usability of an M2 competition. And I genuinely mean that, because this is a British B road, and yet I can go into a corner like this and not have to worry about bouncing all over the place. What a fabulous setup this is. Now I have to say, the first thing you think of, even though the engine is absolutely sweet as a nut, it's a peach, this S55 is a proper M division motor in this M2. Thank God they switched from the non-M1 into this S55 with this generation. But now Clubsport, well, what they've done is they've had the ECU flashed, and not only is that flashed to increase the engine output, so it's from over 400 horsepower to over 500 horsepower. Bearing in mind this is quite a small car for a modern machine. We've also got tweaks to the way the traction control works, and even the diff as well, so I can leave the car on the road in MDM, which is the mode where it allows you to have a bit of fun but also doesn't allow you to fall off. Oh, the pickup is so wonderful, but this gearbox really, it just feels that much more interesting because of these shift paddles. What you've got now is you've got this wonderful click action, which does feel like a race car. I've driven race cars and track cars with this kind of stuff, so it's not fakery. This is genuinely what you get in a proper track car.
You can probably tell that I love the powertrain of this car, which is brutally fast, but never too violent to tame. But what makes this Clubsport Garage M2 such a beast is how the engine's delivery is matched so sweetly to the chassis upgrades.
And it means you can time it with these lovely shift paddles, get into a bend, and then enjoy the sensation of the back of the car just really compressing in. You can feel the tail. They've set the rear actually. Jack said he's actually softened this car off a little bit to make it more road friendly, and in doing so, what it does is actually you really get to feel the car move around and you get the sensation of movement. We've got some very sticky track tyres on this car. So when you get to the limit of the grip, you might think, oh, it's going to be really spiky, but it's not, because the car is giving you messages. It's flowing and it's fluid, and it's soaking up some of the rubbish we have in the UK on our roads. So I can press on and do this. Oh, the brakes are mega as well. Oh, traction is free. There's a lot of... Honestly, this is fantastic. The standard M2 Competition is superb. Honestly, it's a brilliant car. The latest generation car, excellent. And this generation as well, fantastic. The F87 is a supreme car in standard trim, but this takes it to race level feeling, but then allows you, if you want to drive to the shops. Just don't go buying any eggs.
If there's an opportunity for improvement, it's in the pedals, because like many BMWs, the M2's brake pedal is a little too offset to allow for comfortable left foot braking. Swapping to a race pedal box would fix this, and it would really ramp up the engagement during track driving.
But the magic of the Clubsport setup is that you can also drive to and from the track day and still be okay. Like I said earlier, I don't have teeth falling out. I haven't got a massive migraine because of the bad ride. And if I turn the car back into its normal mode, I take it out of M1 and I put traction control back on, I leave it in auto and I just drive it normally. The steering goes quite light. I suddenly have a car that's really docile. We're doing 1,000 RPM and it's just nice and smooth. I just gradually accelerate and the delivery is nice and elastic. The exhaust is actually really quiet. I mean, having a turbo on an engine obviously does take away a bit of sound, but the advantage of that is it doesn't feel boomy when you're driving along on a normal driving scenario. And this does have a sports cat on it, so that does help, even though it does have a modified downpipe. So what you get is an experience not massively dissimilar to a normal BMW M2 Competition. So I can cruise along, leave it in auto, let the car do itself, and I can actually put cruise control on as well, thanks to this cool little button. Even a Cayman GT4, a car that's fabulous to drive, well, that does come with its compromises. It can be pretty firm and fidgety, and you feel the big tyres and you hear them. I don't know how they've done it with the insulation. I haven't got any rear seats, but yeah, it's pretty calm and quiet in it. What a machine.
Now all that's left to find out is how much quicker this Clubsport M2 is to 60 mph than an unmodified M2. I'd matched the standard car's 4-second time earlier in the day, but fancied a second attempt at beating it before handing the keys back.
.92 seconds, that was better. I actually had to manually control it with my foot. I don't think I engaged the launch, or I don't even think it has a launch, but basically I had to really play with the throttle. That was brilliant. So that's lesson learned. If you want to build the ultimate track car, do not just buy random bits off the internet and build your car as it goes. No, come to the experts like Clubsport Garage, because they won't just make it the ultimate track machine, they'll also make sure you can drive there and back without breaking your back. This is the most fantastic BMW I have driven, although if you prefer your Beamers with 3 pedals, there is also a very special one that's been modified by the manufacturer themselves, and it's over here. It's a fabulous car. Watch this to see why.